bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. That's right. Today's Wednesday, November 16th. 321 days into the new year. Just 45 days left. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? All right. Tonight we have author Ronny Le Blanc. We're going to talk about his new book, Monsterland. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. You know what that means. It's open lines all night long. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. And then this Friday, I'll be sitting in for George Norrie over at Coast to Coast AM. My guest will be Brian Lunduke. We're going to talk about the CIA, the NSA, Google, and Pokemon Go. Other technology stuff, too, as well. And then that's Friday night on Coast, so that is open lines all night long. All of you Fadernauts, come over and hang out with us. See if any of you can break through the phone lines and jump on Coast to Coast. And then on Saturday, I continue my quest at Coast, and my guest will be Ira Pastor, and he's the Chief Executive Officer of BioQuark, Inc. It's a biomedical interventions for brain death. That's right. Utilizing the most cutting-edge neuroregeneration and neuroreanimation technologies available. That's going to be Saturday night, and so come and hang out with all of us over there at Coast to Coast. It's going to be great. So, we've continuing a very busy week here at Fade to Black, and you can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Come over and hang out. Oh, man. You know what I need? I need a shot of this Fade to Black blend. Oh, my goodness. You like that tweet? You guys see that tweet that I just sent out? 4 pounds. 4 pounds of Fade to Black blend arrived today. And let's see here. Did you guys, did that tweet out? Oh, there it is. There it is right there. All right. That's what 4 pounds looks like. Yeah. Man, I feel like, I don't know, man. When you are behind a product as good as this, I'm serious. It's a glorious feeling. It is just amazing. All right. Moving on. It's just that good. I mean, you should have seen Rita and I before the show tonight. Savoring the things we were saying. All right. Twitter is at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube, you know what to do. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. The Sandbox, Our little slice of Twitter heaven is hashtag F2B. Come over and hang out. We don't bite. That used to be our slogan. Remember that like 2 years ago? We don't bite. But we don't. Come and hang out with us in the sandbox. Any questions or comments during the show tonight, use hashtag F2BQ. I will see those live during the show. Please check out all of our sponsors. Help support the show by supporting yourself. That's what you do. Life Change Tea. Go right now. Click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Takes you straight to getthetea.com. Just mention Jimmy, either over the phone or online when you order, and you're going to get free shipping because you are a Fadernaut. Also, the aforementioned River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It is truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Yeah, and you know my love for coffee. I've talked about it for years on this show, my love for coffee. And now we have our very own. You know, it's funny. We got the poundage today. And Rita immediately, hands are shaking, rips open the bag. And she goes, just smell this. It's smoky. I was like, yeah, it is. It's smoky. Who knows where that's from? Who knows that line? But, Dad, it's smoky. Who knows that line? Let me see. Somebody bust a move in Twitter. Let me see what you got. Who knows that line? It's a good one, too. It's old school, but who knows it? Also, Studio Dome was on the phone today for a while with James Fox over at Studio Dome discussing these future products that we've got coming out. And I cannot wait. I am so excited about the future with Studio Dome and River Moon and Life Change Tea. Man, they are the best. All right? And hey, have you guys checked out that new commercial we're running for Zipa? Have you guys checked that out? It's pretty cool. I got a couple new ones today. We'll run them tomorrow. Those are really, really good commercials. Anyway, Studio Dome and their Fadernaut special. It's a hard shell case with a portable stereo Bluetooth sound system packed inside. TWS, true wireless stereo technology. It's stereo, it's wireless, it's Bluetooth. 2 SBB2 speakers and power. Everything you need for just $129. And when you use the promo code JCRTWS, you're going to get free shipping. Just click on the banner right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, let's get this show cracking. Got a good one tonight. Ronny Le Blanc and his new book, Monsterland. I just can't wait to have this conversation tonight with Ronny. Old school. Happy birthday, too. Today, our dead guy's birthday is Terrence McKenna. 1946 to the year 2000, died tragically early at the age of 53. He was a mystic. He was a psychonaut. He was a lecturer, an author, and an advocate for the responsible use of copious amounts of psychedelic drugs. He spoke, he wrote, he talked about psychedelic drugs, shamanism, metaphysics, alchemy, language, philosophy, culture, technology. Yeah. And the theoretical origins of the human consciousness. He did a really good series with that guy, Dr. Love. I think he was from San Francisco State. Great series of videos in the 80s. If you ever get a chance, go check those out. Well, anyway, McKenna then had a concept about, and you can watch videos about this, about the nature of time based on fractal patterns that he claimed to have discovered in the I Ching, which he called the novelty theory. Proposing this predicted the end of time in the year 2012. Mayhem then ensued. That had a lot to do with what was going on with 2012 and the Mayan calendar. He may have been the origin of all of that. That being said, he was a very interesting guy. He was very colorful, but maybe, just maybe, he really, really liked to get high. Really high. Okay? When he tells a story about I Ching, and I think he said, I'd have to go back and watch the videos again, but my memory says he told the story and said that he was high for like a month on ayahuasca, right? I mean, just high. And this whole thing came to him, right? And he explains it well, and it's out there. But maybe, just maybe, old Terrence just like to get high. There you go. Happy birthday, Terrence. You really influenced a whole lot of people, all right? And you know that. On this day in history, 1945, 89 German scientists are brought to the United States to work on rocket technology. And Operation Paperclip was born on this day, November 16th, 1945. Fader fact. When spun on a table, now this is a fact, this is vetted, this is real. Now just listen to me. When spun on a table, a U.S. Lincoln penny memorial cent, the memorial cent, not the old wheat pennies, a memorial cent, right? You take it, you hold it with your index finger, and you flick it, and you spin it on the table. It will land on tails 80% of the time. And that is a Fader fact. I bet you didn't know that. Bet you didn't know. Go ahead. Do you have any pennies? You remember those things? Go and test it. I did it today. 8 out of 10 times. It landed on tails. So there you go. I vetted it myself. All right. Seth Shostak. Oh, Seth. You can say "ol" with Seth because they go together. Ol Seth. Old Seth Shostak recently said that if an extraterrestrial species becomes advanced enough to send signals that we here, us Earthlings, can pick up, it will likely shed its traditional biological trappings and become a form of machine intelligence in rather short order. Yes. What he is saying is that if we make contact with E.T., E.T. isn't going to have a body. E.T. is going to be a machine. Yeah. And to make his case, Shostak pointed to the path that humanity appears to be on ourselves. He says that the human species invented the radio around 1900 and computers in 1945 and is already manufacturing relatively cheap devices with greater computing power than the human brain. And the development of true, strong artificial intelligence, AI, is therefore not that far off. Now, we know that the famous futurist Ray Kurzweil has pegged 2045 as the year of this world-changing singularity. And he has also suggested it could happen as early as 2018, 2 years from now, that we are right on the edge of this. So Shostak says that, but maybe it takes to 2100 or 2150 or 2250. It doesn't matter. And he said this past September during a presentation at the Dent Space Conference in San Francisco. And he went on to say, the point is, any society that invents radio so we can hear them within a few centuries, they've invented their successors already. And I think that's important because the successors are machines. Shostak also says that AI will interface with people's bodies for a while, but eventually humans will abandon the wetware and go fully digital. Us. He goes on to say, it'll be like you build a 4-cylinder engine, you put it in a horse to get a faster horse. And pretty soon you say, look, let's get rid of the horse part and just build a Maserati. Humans' machine selves will get smarter and more capable incredibly quickly, he says. Humanity's present intelligence is the result of 4 billion years of Darwinian evolution, which uses random variation as its raw material and is not directed toward any particular goal. But the evolution of machine intelligence will be engineered and efficient. He continues with this gem. Once you invent a thinking machine, you say to yourself, invent something better than you are, and you build that. Design something better than you are, and you build that, and so forth. That is his logic. This idea has serious implications for the Earth, for its search for intelligent alien life. Unlike Earth organisms, super advanced extraterrestrial machines would not require water, of course, or other chemicals to survive. So, they would not be tied to their ancestors' home worlds tightly at all. And journeying tremendous distances would not be a big deal to these machines, provided they could access enough energy and raw materials to keep repairing themselves over the millennia. Now, what he is stating here is quite the obvious. I speak about this all the time. And when I talk about downloading conscious minds, your mind onto a USB drive and popping that sucker into a computer and living in a digital world and living forever, the first application for that, well, first off, besides having a lot of fun like the movie Tron, would be to travel to the stars, build a spaceship, pop in the USB drive, and away you go. Just go. That makes sense. It takes away all of the logistics that you would need. Water, waste, air, food, right? Growing old. Makes sense. But the way that Shostak states it here, and I'm going to continue with this in just a second, but the way that he presents it here, I'm not comfortable with. He goes on to say, we continue to look in the directions of star systems that we think have habitable worlds, that have planets where biology could cook up and eventually turn into something clever like us. But I don't think it's going to be that way. End quote. The reason why we are looking everywhere and looking at everything as much as we can in the vastness of the universe is because if we don't, then we got nothing. That's the point. Shostak said he isn't counseling his fellow SETI astronomers to stop investigating potentially Earth-like planets such as Proxima b, the recently discovered world that lies just 4.2 light years away. And I think that's a backpedaling, and it's a way to cover his tracks. But either we look or we don't, Seth. Now, he's been a guest on this show, and he's got his critics. And even when I had him on the show, I'll never forget the responses that I got after him being on with this. You know, why would you do that? Why would you have Seth is this? He's not with us. He doesn't care. He's a shill. He's a disinformation agent. He's this. I don't agree with any of that because SETI is there and it's running and it's him, and that's what they're doing and that's what they're looking for. But these kind of statements bear some responsibility because he is speaking to the world and people listen to Seth. Well, some do. But he goes on to say it may be a good idea to expand the search to regions of space that would seemingly be attractive to digital life forms. For example, places with lots of available energy, such as the centers of galaxies. And he says, this may be where the really clever beings are. Now, the discovery of Proxima b, which is right now moving around our nearest star to us. I need to emphasize something here. There is nothing closer to our solar system than Proxima Centauri. And there is not a closer planet to us, therefore, than Proxima b. And the fact that it is in the Goldilocks zone and it looks very promising, that's exactly where we should be looking, not somewhere else. We need to confirm or deny Proxima b. I don't care. Everything needs to be pointed at Proxima b. It's 4.2 light years away. And I got to tell you, that's almost close enough with our current technology for us to get there in our wetsuits, in our bodies. We don't even need to use that USB drive. Shostak went on to say this: maybe, just maybe, what we ought to do is look at places on the sky that connect to places where there is a lot of energy in an attempt to intercept communications between alien machines. Now, isn't that something interesting to say? He goes on and he says, this is my message. We're looking for analogs of ourselves. But I don't know that that's the majority of the intelligence in the universe. I'm willing to bet it's not. End quote. Wow. Just wow. There's something going on here. And I'm just going to say this back to Seth. He said that's his message. Well, this is my message, Seth. Either you know something that we don't, or you need to keep your thoughts to yourself. It's worded, and this presentation that went down back in September, it is worded in such a way that I'm willing to bet, Seth, that you know something. There is a message here. I think Seth knows what's going on. We have had a few different radio signals over the last couple of years, and certainly over the last couple of months. And that is the public side of the situation. But I can assure you that we don't know everything about SETI. We do not know. We do not. If he, and I remember asking Seth myself personally, when I said, dude, so what's the protocol? You go and you detect something. What happens? Well, of course, we're going to, check it out. But then, well, what are you going to do? Who are you going to contact? Are you going to tell us? Are you going to go public? Oh, of course, no. The fact is, if he made, no, I shouldn't say the fact, but my gut says they discover something and they're going to go right to Washington with it, and they're going to discuss it with all of the scientists in the Defense Department and the president. And they're going to take a look at things and see what that message says and what it is. They're going to break it down. We have no idea how many times this may have happened. We don't know. But I'm sure that it has. And when he says something like this publicly, I read between the lines here, and it seems to me that what he is saying is that they have intercepted communications between machines, and these machines are attracted to and need high forms of energy, and they are located at bright stars, and we know exactly what part of the universe that they're in. That's what this says, because he is saying that's where we need to go and look. We don't need to go look at Proxima b. And the other part of that, when he says this, maybe there's something at Proxima b that they're trying to throw the scent off of. But Seth here being very careful with these words and this specific presentation, there's a lot of information here that we need to extract. So what is it that you know, Seth? Have you shared it with us, or have you not? There you go. It's a very interesting situation that's going on. And obviously, I'll be reaching out to Seth and get him on the show because I want a full explanation. He does do the dance. Seth does do the dance, and I'll give him credit for that because he has to, and I get that. And I'm not sure how they struggle for funding. He says that they do, but he's very selective with his words, and he does the dance really, really, really well. He needs to play both sides of the fence. He has to. He has to make us happy. He has to make them happy. That's a difficult position for him to be in. But this kind of presentation with these kinds of words makes me scratch my head. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Ronny Le Blanc at Author R. LeBlanc on Twitter. We have that up on Twitter right now. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet, our guest tonight, Ronny Le Blanc, and his new book, Monsterland. My email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be right back with Ronny Le Blanc right after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fadernauts rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight, Ronny Le Blanc is here, but tomorrow night, I want to remind everybody, is Thursday night, Fader night. John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. And then Friday and Saturday, I will be over at Coast to Coast AM. Friday night, sitting in for George Norrie, open lines and doing that thing. And then Saturday night, just another Coast to Coast. Come and hang out with us. Tomorrow night. Tonight. Man, it's this Fade to Black blend coffee, man. I'm telling you right now. I wonder if you can just take the grounds and just, snort it. I mean, you know what I mean? It is like that. Ronny Le Blanc is the author of Monsterland, Encounters with UFOs, Bigfoot, and Orange Orbs. Ronny has had a lifelong interest in cryptozoology, science, and topics of the strange, and he started to look into the sightings and encounters, focusing his research in and around Leominster State Forest. But the answers received led to a whole new understanding of the unknown. His website is ronnyleblanc.com. Follow him on Twitter, author R. LeBlanc, and those links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And I would like to welcome, for the first time to Fade to Black, Ronny Le Blanc. Ronny, good evening, sir.
Jimmy, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No. I'm all good. Thank you. Okay, first off, thank you. And before we get started, as you know, first-time guest on the show, so you get the first-time guest disclaimer. You excited about that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here we go. It's just you and I sitting on my couch, having a conversation as friends. And where we start, we start. Where we end. But we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. Now, first off, this is what's really cool. I'm going to say this, Ronny. One of the joys that I have with doing what I do is I get to talk about UFOs, Bigfoot, orbs, monsters, lost history, all of the, the high strangeness that is out there. And Monsterland has all of that. And for me to be able to do all of this in one show tonight with you, it's great. This is exactly why I do it. But you, the book is good. The images in the book are good. All of it is there. It's written really well. But what led you into all of this? I mean, it's a crazy world that you're now dipping your toe into.
It really is. And I think ever since, childhood, when I could start reading and have an interest in things like different creatures and Bigfoot and UFOs, is when I was able to kind of start going to the library in Leominster and start taking out different books and start digging into these type of subjects. And it just had such a pull on me that it was magnetic. And I never, really understood why. And now as I kind of look back where I'm at right now, it kind of makes sense, where I kind of feel like I was meant to kind of dive into this world. But my first personal experience, and where I really, and it got shelved for a little while, but I lived down by this area called Monsterland, and not really knowing too much about it, just for me as a kid growing up, it was just a spot where, you'd hear people taking four-wheelers or dirt bikes,
right.
BMX bikes going back there and riding around and stuff, and it was by these power lines. And I lived maybe 5 houses down from this area. So I would go through this back behind Fallbrook School with these different trails and on my way to Monsterland. So, today it's different where it was 20 years ago. You could take your bike and you could ride through 2 different towns and be gone all day on a Saturday, no problem. Now it's a bit different. But I was about 12 years old and I took my bike and I was riding behind these trails, and every time I was on my way to Monsterland, there was a particular trail on the way that I would avoid, and it just had a prehistoric and a little freaky feel to it. Well, one of these days I was kind of going in, and I stopped my bike and said, I'm going up that trail. So I started heading into the trail, and I had a little decent incline, so I had to pop off the bike and kind of walk it in. So as I started walking it in, just an overwhelming feeling of being watched, that kind of like that anxiety, that sensation that you're not supposed to be here, kind of get out, that those warning signals that your body's trying to tell you with the hair going back up. And
Right.
So I started walking the bike in, and I got to a point where I made a little corner, and I looked ahead and just started kind of, the trail seemed to kind of thin, and basically I stopped dead in my tracks because something just didn't feel right. I'm like, what am I doing? Where am I going here? And as I'm sitting there looking for it, all of a sudden the forest erupts, and I'm looking in front of me, and I just see basically like the sea of green, and the ferns, the trees, everything is moving around. The sound and I hear footsteps like pounding, like an elephant is ripping through the forest. But when I'm looking in front of me, there's nothing to be seen in the sense of kind of making all this ruckus and all this, basically reverberated through the soles of my feet up through my chest. And I could not move. I was just fixated, but whatever it was, I could not see it, but I just saw all this stuff moving around. After a few seconds, all of this stopped, and I kind of regained where I was at, and I took off so fast, jumped on the bike, peeled out of there. And to me, as I'm riding back home, I was just so spooked out about it. The only thing I could think of is maybe it was like a moose or a bear or something, but it sounded so enormous, but I couldn't see anything, and my mind was trying to comprehend it. I could not grasp it. Well, I think, after a little while, I just said, put it behind my mind and back my mind, and, just went ahead with my life. And it didn't seem to kind of come back until much, much later. And when I moved from Leominster, Massachusetts, I was out in college in Southern California. I lived out there for about 10 years. I moved back home, and it didn't really kind of click in until I met Bill Penning, who had discovered a set of tracks in Leominster State Forest, which is pretty close to Monsterland. And he was with his wife. It was a summer day in June in 2010, and they had decided to go on a hike. And they came to a certain spot as they're probably about 45 minutes into the hike. And they come to this fork in the trail, and they're on their way to the No Town Reservoir. And there's parts where you can fish, and there's parts that's kind of, you're not allowed to kind of go. Well, he comes to this fork, and they're arguing between himself and his wife, Julie, which direction to go. Well, Bill wins the argument. They start going his direction. They go take a right down the trail and decide that after about 15 minutes, they went the wrong direction. They circle back. There's no one around when they get to the spot where they parked, and they didn't see anybody the whole time they were there. They're maybe 15 minutes away from the spot they just were at. They come back, and as they approach the area of the fork with the trail, they notice some spots in the trail, some tracks. And so Bill starts approaching it a little, taking his time and noticing, these weren't here when we walked by the first time. But what was really startling to him and what freaked him out is that there were 6 footprints that seemed to come out of the woods back into the woods. But when you look closely at these 6 footprints, it was like a human-shaped footprint, but he could visibly see the toes. He could see that they were pushed in, almost 3 inches deep, with a 6-foot stride between each step. And alarms went off in his head, like, what? This doesn't make any sense.
How big? How big were they?
They were not enormous. They were like 10.5, 11 inches long.
Okay.
And what just stood out to him is that they were just there. They didn't see anybody, they didn't hear anything, and they come back and they see these things.
Oh, I got you.
These
Okay.
tracks.
Right.
Yeah, but what freaked him out even more is he looks down closely and he sees there's deer tracks alongside of these footprints. And he's like, what the?
Right.
It was as if this person or whatever it was chasing the deer. Well, off to the side, he sees even smaller footprints, which were almost like baby ones that were almost like standing there, getting nervous and kind of patting around. So there's all these different prints, and it just didn't make any sense at all. So he instantly picks up a rock. He talks to Julie. They pull out their little cell phone that they had and took some pretty crude pictures, but they try to get some evidence of what they were seeing. But what hit them is as they kind of made this realization, well, let's get out of here, and he picks up the rock because he starts to get a little afraid. He described it to me as if they got zapped, where they felt like they got disoriented. They didn't know what they were doing. It took them, where it normally would take 45 minutes, an hour to get to that spot where they were at, it took them 2-3 hours to get back. And it just disturbed him for days where he couldn't sleep. He's in his early 50s, and he had called his mother to kind of explain what happened. And, just didn't know where to kind of go. It just didn't make any sense. Well, a week prior to this happening, my wife had introduced me to his brother, who she's known since kindergarten, and our kids had actually gone to school together in the kindergarten as well. And so we met, and we're talking, and he had known that through my wife that I used to live in California, and asked me what are some of the great places that you've been to. And I said, one of the top spots in California is the Redwood National Forest. Just amazing. I said, once you had experience kind of going there and seeing the immensity, the size of these things, the trees and everything, it's just, you can kind of feel like something like a Sasquatch could exist. And he lost it. He was, what are you talking about? A Bigfoot? And, a week later, here he is. His brother calls his mom. His brother calls him, tells him about this experience. And he's like, this is weird. I'm just talking to this guy, Ronnie, about a week ago, and he's telling me he's into this stuff about Bigfoot and everything else. Maybe you should give him a call. So that's when I ended up hooking up with Billy, talking to him, have him kind of explain his story over the phone. And I could sense after, 4 or 5 days after this had happened, he was just shaken up. I'm like, again, early 50s guy, it's not a teenager. It's somebody that's had an experience. He's a hunter. He's an outdoorsman. So he's had experiences and just knows that this is something kind of out of the ordinary.
Right.
Is this some kind of, random hermit living up in this spot, or is it something else?
Were these
So we ended up...
Oh, okay. I know. What I was going. Were these the footprints that you got the casts of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we were able to get one cast of one of the 6 prints, and we had gone back maybe at this point it was almost like 9 days after, and we had no real. We didn't think we were going to find these things again. With all the time that had passed. But once I had talked to him and I said, this guy seems to be telling the truth. I got to look into this. This is just too weird. And then I realized that, my sister had bought me got my wife and I a casting kit for our first child, Asia. And it was one of these things where you kind of put it down where they can put their hands and their feet in. You get a little casting kind of piece. So it's
right.
plaster of Paris. But it was just something I realized, what, maybe I'll grab that if we do find them. Maybe we can cast one of the prints. And we went back up, took a little while, kind of found that spot, and lo and behold, there's the tracks. And I went with Bill and his brother Kevin. We brought this casting material. We went to work. We found the best print that we could. We realized we wouldn't have enough to do all 6, but maybe we could get one of those prints. So we fill it in, we set it, we get it going. Maybe about 5 minutes later, we hear what sounds like 4-wheelers coming down the trail. And as we're listening, it's getting closer and closer and closer. And I'm like, well, these guys are coming right down here. So Bill's brother, Kevin, jumps right in front of the four-wheelers. Now, if we'd gotten there maybe 5 minutes later, they were going right over that path. They were going to go right over those tracks.
Wow.
So that was one of the things that we kind of realized, that was like, whoa, we just made it. You know, like we just made it to get back and actually find the tracks and actually have the ability to cast one of these before they would have been destroyed if it would have been a few minutes later. So it was things like that started happening as this progressed that just kind of
what did
really
the cast
grabbed my attention.
What did the cast end up looking like? It's one thing to look at a footprint, but once you get the cast and you take a look at that, did that look human to you?
Initially, it did. I was very doubtful, but what really stood out to me, and with all the different books I've read, John Green and Lauren Coleman, and that straight line, that kind of that gait that humans can't really pull off, is what I saw when I saw those tracks. And I saw that straight line, and I saw that stride between each footprint. And I'm telling you, I lost my breath. I was like, this can't be right.
Right. What a trip.
But what made you kind of almost doubt yourself was the size of the tracks weren't enormous. They weren't 15, 16-inch long tracks, which would have kind of taken it really over the top. But so there was that element. Okay, yeah, there's definitely a possibility that this is a person, but the stride and then that gait, when I saw, I was like, whoa, this is pretty wild. That's what really...
Give me the lay of the land a little bit here, because I'm going to come back to this this experience. Where is Leominster exactly, and how close was this to your sighting or your thing when you were 12?
Sure. Leominster is in central Massachusetts, so we're west of Boston, probably about 35, 40 miles from Boston. And Monsterland itself is in near South Leominster on the border of Lancaster. And where my kind of situation kind of happened was close to Monsterland, maybe quarter of a mile or so.
Oh, so it was right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was right there.
Yeah. And where Bill and Julie had found those tracks was the Leominster State Forest, which was almost between Leominster State and Monsterland. This is a good distance. It's like 3 to 4 miles. But what's interesting is what connects them is the power lines.
Yeah, I totally thought that.
Corridor.
Right. And I've been to Boston a few times, and for the audience that has not been to Boston is separate from the rest of Massachusetts. And what I mean by that is the forest, right, butts right up against Boston. Once you leave the city, you are in the woods, right?
Right,
it's the
exactly.
Best. You're rolling through
hills.
Feel
like you left the world and went into another one.
Yeah. It's a very unique experience. And when you arrive in Boston, I mean, you're just rolling through hills and trees, and then boom, there's Boston. It's right there. So I can imagine what it is like out there, because especially 30 miles away, because it is very thick. And it's woods, it's forest, and it's hills and rolling hill. It's beautiful beyond description, but it's also, if something was going to run around out there, there's plenty of places to hide, and that's where I'm going.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Leominster State Forest itself is like 4,300 acres. It encompasses 5 towns. There are different reservoirs and creeks and rivers and different brooks. There's a lot of wildlife from deer, bobcat, foxes. I mean, you name it.
Now, why?
So definitely
why the name Monsterland and the Monster Forest and so forth? How old does that get?
It's interesting. I never really thought about the name and how it got to be named Monsterland. But after meeting Bill, after, with the track and everything, I started to kind of, the detective in me kind of was like, all right, this is interesting. So I started digging into, maybe I can see if I can find some stories about Bigfoot or things like that in this area, if there's anything like that. Well, sure enough, there's reports going back to like 1884.
Oh, really?
And this is in the area which is called Monsterland, and it was basically 1884. A hunter was out hunting, and he sees a creature that's walking on two legs. This creature notices that he's noticed, and he breaks off into all fours into a run into the woods. Well, the hunter, is just like, what is this? In that same area, within that same year, a farmer watches a creature similar to that same description tear one of his cattle to shreds. So that's where that legend, where that kind of name came from, really is that because of a monster in that area. But where it really gained some popularity was in the 50s, where a gentleman was driving along that area, and there's a spot called Old Mill Road and Jungle Road, which is there now. There's a Walmart, which has been put up maybe 9 years ago or so. But in that spot, this guy was driving down through that area along by this bridge, and he sees this, what he describes as this terrifying monster that was off to the side of the road by the bridge. So in the 50s, cell phones, and he is so freaked out by what he sees, he tries to find the nearest establishment that's open. And at this point in time, late at night, is a bar. So he pulls in, not too far off from where this happened, and runs inside, and there's a few patrons, and he talks to the manager, explains what he sees. And he's like, can you call the police? There's something up there. I've never seen anything like this. So the manager at first was kind of skeptical. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I'm listening. I'm
okay.
I'm so with you right now. Okay, go. Don't stop, man.
so the manager is so skeptical, but then after a while, this freaking out, he's convinced, and he calls the police. So he calls the police, explains what happened. They're on their way. Well, the guy's getting impatient. This thing's going to disappear. I can't wait around for these guys. He's like, tells them where he's going to go, and he said, I'm heading back. I'm going to prove to everybody that this thing is real. So he takes off. Well, maybe a few minutes later, the police show up. The manager explains, the guy went back, explains the story. They head up to the area, which is maybe 3/4 of a mile down the road. The police show up. They find his car off the side of the road. Engine's running. The headlights are on. The door's open. So they pull up, and they said, "Oh, here's the vehicle. He must be off in the woods. Let's just wait for a few minutes, and he'll emerge from the woods." Well, the guy never comes out. So this was kind of where the legend of people disappearing in Monsterland, and
what you mean? He never came out. He disappeared.
Never came out. That's the legend.
Okay.
And from people that I've talked to, that they said that is true. That did happen. But as I did some digging on missing persons in Leominster during that time period, nobody kind of pulls up into that database search as being disappeared during that time period.
Wow.
So again, I just scratched the surface. I could dig deeper, but initially I didn't see any reason to kind of go any further than that, but there could be that possibility.
Now, I want to.
And that's where. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to go back really quick before we hit the break in a couple of minutes here. I want to go back to your sighting when you were 12. You didn't actually see, a physical being. You only saw the bushes and the trees move, and you heard the sounds, right?
Right.
Do you think that there's the possibility, and again, I know that you've talked about this and written about it, but I want to be more direct. Do you think that it could have been invisible, that I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yes. and that's what is just freaky is that after reading these stories and doing the research and hearing about this element of Sasquatch where this is invisibility piece, and I was like, that's it? That kind of fits the, like that missing piece that I just couldn't wrap my head around. Well, that would fit, especially if this is a hot spot, if this is an area where Bigfoot's been, seen going back to 1884, and if they do have these type of abilities, did I experience that at 12, and maybe why I'm so fascinated with this whole subject and UFOs. So yeah, I'm starting to, believe that may be that experience. I really was that close to something like that. Had that element,
Totally. And now that you're an adult, right, and you've done your research in the area, and you know the kind of stuff that has been going on there, you were alone and you were 12 and that happened. Do you know how close you were to something really crazy happening? What's your stomach do when you think about that?
It's wild because I've had some other situations in that same neck of woods which kind of started to bubble up again, where they kind of were pushed aside, and I'm starting to question those type of situations where there's a little bit of missing time and where you're kind of alone in the woods and all of a sudden it's dusk and I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. As a kid, that's pretty freaky. And I've heard similar stories of people having that in groups of people and also by themselves. So that's pretty wild.
We're going to take a break right here. And I want to say this really quick. Nick Redfern, who is, he's a friend and has been on the show many times. But when I read what he had to say about you and your presentation and the book, for Nick to step up and say something, there's a lot of I don't want to use the word credibility because there's that, but I take him at his word too, because it takes a lot for Nick to be phased. I've tried to phase him. I've tried to make him smile. I've tried to make him laugh. I've tried to make him cry, and the dude is stoic, right? And you know what I'm talking about. And,
absolutely.
And so for him to react like this to the book and to you, I know that there is something genuine here that's going on, and we'll pick up all of this on the backside of this break. Let's do that now, and then we'll jump into the UFO side of Monsterland. And our guest tonight is Ronny Le Blanc. His new book is called Monsterland. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. More with Ronny right after this short break. You guys stay right there. It's going to get good.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Kathleen, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com IOPRIM.com or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ronny Le Blanc. We're talking about his new book. It's called Monsterland. Tomorrow night is going to be another Thursday night, Fader night, open lines all night long with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. And then Friday and Saturday, I'm doing the weekend gig over at Coast to Coast AM. Now, Ronny, one of the things that has caught my attention, especially over the last few years, is the connections that are starting to be drawn between Bigfoot sightings and UFOs. And there could be something there. And it's certainly, you know, when you have areas like ESETI and James Gilliland and what's going on up there, they've been drawing these connections. And over the years, these reports are starting to pop up more and more that there's a Bigfoot sighting and then somebody else has had a UFO sighting in the same area, and not necessarily the same people, but the same event happens on the same day. When did you start to see these connections in this area of Monsterland?
You know, for me, it was, I had an interest in UFOs and I had an interest in Bigfoot. And I started to see these different, correlations of these different spots that people would have Bigfoot sightings and they would have UFO sightings, but also reading people like John Keel and others, that you kind of see that there's weird pockets where a lot of this strange phenomena happens, and especially Bigfoot and UFOs. And again, when I started digging into the Leominster piece, things started kind of happening almost in succession, where it was like an unraveling of a little puzzle. And I had gone to a local pizza place here called C&M, gone inside, and they had like a little cork board where people placed their business cards. And I noticed what caught my eye. It was like the card was like in the middle of this pack of like 100 business cards. And I saw MUFON. And I was like, what the?
Oh, that's interesting, right?
So I look closely at the card, and I see the tack that's holding it in there. And I pull it out, and I grab the card. And it says, Steve Fermani, New England MUFON director, Leominster, Massachusetts. And I'm like, what? I go, the head of the investigation for all of New England lives in Leominster. So that was one of the first pieces. And then I found out about Betty Andresian, which I didn't really know about, that she had her first experience in Leominster in 1944 when she was like 7 years old.
That's right.
And she had this ball of light, this marble-sized ball of light asphyxiate, to her temple, and felt this telepathic communication saying, "Hey, you're coming along. You're almost there. We're watching you. We're taking care of you." And she was in her dollhouse in the front of this area at her house, which is oddly enough down the street from where I live now. And this is Howard Street, where this happened in 1944. So as I started digging into UFO and pieces and why Leominster seemed to be an element of this, I discovered through learning about Betty Andresian, I read Raymond Fowler's Anatomy of an Abductee.
Yep.
And in there was a story about this UFO encounter in Leominster, Massachusetts. And I literally threw the book across the room, like, this cannot be happening.
Right.
Like, what are you, So as I started reading about this happened in 1967, where a couple from Leominster, it was in the summer, 1 a.m, they decided they're going to take a drive. And they're in their 40s. They claimed they weren't drinking. It was hot, and they just couldn't sleep. So they just felt they had to go take a drive. And they drove for like an hour and a half. Well, as they're re-entering Leominster, they came across this cemetery called St. Leo's Cemetery. And as they're driving by, him and his wife, and he noticed this weird mist fog and this light above the cemetery. So they drive by, and he's like, "What is that?" So he turns around, and they come back to the cemetery, and he's like, "I think we got something here." And his wife's like, "Let's just go home. What are you doing?" And he pulls into the cemetery. They start pulling up to this mist and this fog, and all of a sudden they realize it's a flying saucer hovering over the cemetery. So he's like, "Oh my God, we got something here." He pulls over, and he gets out of the car, and she's screaming at him. He opens the door, gets out, points at the UFO. He's like, "Are you seeing this?" And all of a sudden his arm gets thrown back onto the top of the hood of the car, the roof of the car, almost like a magnet. And he can't move. And in that time, the UFO just takes off, shoots up straight into the sky. Well, after maybe 30 seconds or so, he kind of regains some composure and kind of regains his bodily control somewhat, gets back in the car, and they're all frazzled. And they're somewhat close to home. So they start driving back. He's still so kind of shaken up about what just happened. He doesn't really feel like he has complete control. And as they're pulling into the driveway, he doesn't tap the brake and hit it soon enough that they crash into the garage. This is like, 2:30 in the morning at this point. One of the first things they do after this thing happened is they call their parents. Now, when you have this kind of experience, you're going to call your parents at 2. I know if I call my parents at 2:30 in the morning, either no one's picking up or someone's going to be screaming at me.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. So they talk to one of the parents, explain what happened. They're all shaken up what they saw. Well, they talk to the other set of parents and they call the police. What are you guys doing? So they call Leominster Police Department. An officer, Ciccolone, comes down and knows the couple, knows that they're upstanding citizens. They're not telling lies. You can see that they're pale, like shooken up, like something has happened. And they explain to him what they saw. And what is fascinating to me is that the fact that, the police officer, after taking the report and everything, and Raymond Fowler investigated this, he believed them. He said they saw, I believe what they've said they saw, that they experienced this. And Raymond Fowler was able to say that, there was similar sightings during this time period around this same area. But what's wild is that the St. Leo Cemetery is literally maybe a block away from where Betty Andresian first had her UFO or extraterrestrial experience in Leominster in 1944.
Have you seen anything in the skies in this area?
I have, and I've seen it in broad daylight.
What did you see?
Maybe a few summers ago, where I was in the back yard kind of cleaning up towards cleaning up the leaves, and I had the kids outside, and my daughter had noticed and just said, "Whoa, what's that?" And we looked up, and now, mind you, the sky was, perfectly blue. There wasn't any clouds in the sky. And when she pointed up, I saw what looked like a flock of geese. And I was like, "Oh, geese." And as I looked up, it was shaped like a boomerang, almost like the addition sign, the plus sign, and in a boomerang kind of triangle shape. And as I was going across, I started to realize that those don't look like geese. I don't see any wings flapping, and I don't see that separation of that flying V. So as I kept on watching this, I just realized, one, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any sounds from the geese. But I noticed that it seemed like they were all kind of following each other, all kind of flying in unison. So I assumed, oh, maybe these are drones or something. Well, as I kept on looking closer, I realized, you know what, this doesn't even seem like they're separate. It almost seems like it's one craft. And what entered my mind, and I kind of dismissed it as soon as it bubbled up, was those spots where that looked like an addition sign or a plus sign almost seemed where the lights would be on a craft, and the rest of the craft was almost invisible. So, right? So I was like, yeah, no. This thing passes over. All my kids are looking at. We're all watching this. Then I hear what's the sound of jets, and I turn around, and there's two military jets flying one after the other, almost like smaller C-130s, but straight up military jets following this thing. And then that's what I was like, whoa, what is going on? If there's some kind of military craft, why are you flying it over rural areas during the middle of the day? But I've read over and over again about, military or, following these different objects or UFOs, and here we go, flying right over my house.
Yeah. I'm going to jump in here. When it flew over you guys, and you're looking up at it, and it's interesting how you say that it looked like it was one craft. Could you see through it? Was it translucent?
Yes. So it was almost like, the best way I can describe it is almost like the addition sign, the plus or minus sign. Imagine that in like the Phoenix lights. So imagine if those positions where those lights would almost be a plus sign, and they were all the same size. So it looked like, to me, high up, that they were drones all flying almost in unison, like a V of like geese.
Right.
But as I kept on watching this, I realized that it was one craft, and it was where those spots seemed to be where the lights would be, and the thing was invisible. That's what popped in my mind. And when I saw that, that's what made sense to me. And I know that when we're all looking at it, everyone was just dumbfounded, because we knew it was not geese. Now my other daughter realized, as she's watching this, goes, "Oh my gosh." She's like, "We just saw this last week." And this thing kind of disappeared, and the jets fly by. I go, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, man.
And so my girls are in, this was a few years back, but they're in cheerleading, and they're, young, 10, 12. Well, a week prior, my daughter's at the Pop Warner field, which is the football, and doing cheerleading and doing practice. And she goes, "We saw that same thing over the football field." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? It flew over?" She's like, "No, it was hovering." And I was like, "What?"
How big was it?
She saw this same thing hovering, wasn't flying over. The coach saw them watching this thing and said, "Guys, stop looking at that flock of geese.
Right.
And let's get back to practice."
Right.
But what she said, it wasn't flying, Dad. It was hovering. And when we looked back after we came back, it was gone.
How big was it? Do you have any idea?
It seemed pretty big, because it was high up. You could the day was very clear. The sky was clear. You could see it pretty clearly, and it seemed to be about the same size if not a little bit bigger than the jets that were following it.
Was that the only time that you have seen this?
That I've seen that particular type of craft, yes.
Yeah, well, your daughter's got two. That's
yes, yeah.
That's pretty nuts. How close are you to an Air Force base up there?
You know what's crazy is the Fort Devens is a stone's throw away.
Right.
It is literally like the next town over. There's Leominster and then Shirley and Air, and Fort Devens sits within Air. It's an Army base. Their specialty was intelligence. So that's an interesting element to this whole area as well. There's a lot of different sites across the country that are in close proximity to, military bases seem to have the same type of phenomena happening. So that's piqued my interest as well.
Well, and the other part of that I always find interesting is that, when you live that close to an Air Force base or military base, you're acclimated to what's in the sky. You
exactly.
You see what's going on all the time. And when you see something different, well, then I haven't seen this before, because you see other types of aircraft all day long, all the time. And then something new pops out, that this isn't, what you have seen many, many, many times before, that takes off and lands at an Air Force base.
We used to have big, the paratroopers, would fly over so low that literally, when I was a kid, they would have the back open where they would wave to me as they're flying by.
Right.
That's how low these planes would be. And they would drop, they'd parachute out and they'd have to hike back, 20 miles back to the base. And at a young age, I was fascinated by flight and aircraft. So I could tell you the SR-71 Blackbird and all these, different craft. So I knew kind of what was in the sky, and I've always kind of still stayed within that. So even having that experience as an adult, this didn't make any sense. I've never seen anything like this. And then again, with the military jets, these unmarked jets following it, definitely said, all right, there's something going on here.
Now, in your research, did you find Bigfoot sightings and UFO sightings at the same time?
I did not, but they are within that same area. And there's been some other strange balls of light, these orange orbs that have been seen within that same vicinity.
Yeah, we're going to get to the orange orbs.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that in just a second. Tiffany just tweeted out, she wants to know if back with your sightings of Bigfoot, and your friend too as well, Penning, were the trees twisted in a spiral or leaning in a spiral pattern?
They have been found, and I just recently did a hike a week ago in the Leominster State Forest area. Found a bunch of different trees that were twisted and pointing in the same direction in the succession, almost like 3 trees in a row, twisted, where something had to physically do that. And hunters have found trees shredded apart higher than, say, a deer or a moose would be. So there's definitely been sign and different structures that have been found as well within Leominster State Forest too.
What about mutilations or any dead animals or carcasses in Monsterland?
There has been no cattle mutilations or things like that, but there was a time in the late 80s where there were what seemed to be carcasses of sacrificed cats, dogs, birds, typical kind of satanic kind of rituals almost. So that was something that was of a concern. Lauren Coleman actually came and was investigating in Leominster back in '89 when there was a rash of suicides. So that was kind of claimed that there's some kind of satanic cult involved. So there's that negative energy that seemed to have encapsulated the area. So that was another element to that. Just keep these different layers of the onion that seem to unravel about the spot.
How close is this to the Bridgewater Triangle?
Bridgewater Triangle is southeastern Massachusetts, almost near Taunton, Bridgewater. So it's about an hour south of us. We're central Mass, north central. So it's a good drive, but it's within short distance of us.
What is going on, man? What is going on?
I don't know.
The Bridgewater Triangle and the amount of incidents that have been documented. I've got the video. We've had Aaron and the guys on the show. Terrifying video to watch. That video will scare the crap out of you, no doubt. That documentary, which I assume that you have seen. And what you are describing to me here is very, very similar to the Bridgewater Triangle, but you guys are in the same state, and Massachusetts isn't very big, and you're telling me now it's just an hour away, 60 miles away. This is way beyond coincidence.
The other way beyond coincidence is the fact that this area is former Native American land. Parts of it were considered sacred, Lake Washaycom, which is Sterling line, which is probably maybe about a mile from Leominster Center, so fairly close. But a lot of this land was originally Native American land, Cannock and Nipmuc's tribe, Nashawai tribe, and they would have, Lake Washaycom would have different regattas where the tribes would come down and have races with the canoes, and the different tribes would have council meetings. So similar to the Bridgewater Triangle and the Hockomock Swamp area, and that history with the war, King Philip's War, and all the death that had happened there. Similarly to Leominster and the Lancaster area where Monsterland kind of sits, was an area where there was Indians had ransacked the city. Like a third of the population was killed and murdered. So there's that element too of this negative kind of spirit piece to it that has that same connection to Bridgewater Triangle, which I've always was fascinated with, and then couldn't believe as I kept on digging that it seemed to have all those pieces that Bridgewater Triangle does as well.
Yeah, because you have the satanic stuff in both locations. You have heavy UFO activity. You have Bigfoot sightings. You have Native American tribes, spirits. You have orbs. Something is going on. Yeah, and it kind of brought me to the path where, okay, all the evidence is kind of putting you on a path that how are all these things seemingly happening in the same place? Are we talking about a portal at this point? Right.
And that's where I kind of feel like there is that possibility. And what's interesting is I spoke with Nick Redfern at the New England UFO conference, Bill Penning as well. We did a couple different presentations, and I had a gentleman that after one of the presentations was talking to me and claiming that part of Fitchburg, which is the neighboring town, which also encompasses Leominster State Forest, that there's a well-known vortex top of this one peak. And he was about 80 years old, and I was taking him seriously as he's talking to me, and he was looking at me dead in the eye and just kind of saying all these different things, which kind of reaffirmed some of the research, but at the same time, I was like, it was unbelievable to kind of hear coming from someone else's lips,
Always,
so there is that.
Always listen to the old guy. Always listen to the old guy. Now, what does we're going to head to a break here. When we come back, we'll get to the orbs section of things. But What does your family think about this? You have kids, and then you have the rest of your family too, and your wife. What do they think about what you're doing?
Yeah, it's definitely had its challenges as you're trying to balance everything. My wife has been super supportive. My kids have been supportive as well. But then there's that element of am I putting them in danger? So I do worry about that. I do have some concern, moving forward with this kind of stuff. But they have all been supportive. All my family's been, there for me on this whole thing, kind of pushing me ahead. So that's the one piece that's been great.
Your wife's not looking at you like, Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters, right?
Yeah. Oh, I've had a couple of those gazes several times for sure. They'll pop up from time to time.
And how are your daughters with this? I mean, they've obviously seen stuff in the sky with you and independently. Right. Are they freaking out, or are they cool? Because kids see so much, E.T. alien stuff on TV and the movies, and are they freaked out about it, or do they understand really what's going on?
They're pretty cool about it. I think they've just seen me, talking about this and hearing about different stories, and they, with their own personal experiences as well, they've kind of come to the realization that there's something, there's an element here. This is real. So they realize that there's more to this universe than what we think it is right now.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, let's take our break right here, Ronnie, and when we come back, obviously we need to get the orange orbs into the conversation, but I also want to talk about your neighbors, the town, and the local media, and the attention that this is drawing, and I'll mention some more stuff right after the break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ronny Le Blanc, and his new book, Monsterland. Stay right there.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
How you doing? This is Jimmy from Zeepa, and I want to talk to you a little bit about Black Friday and Cyber Monday. All you people that like to procrastinate, the people that like to go ahead on Black Friday the night before and they camp out waiting for that great deal. Well, hello, newsflash, the deal for Zeepa is now. The deal for Zeepa is today. We do not reward procrastination. If you want a great price on a Zeepa, go to Zeepa.com and buy now. If you're going to go ahead and procrastinate, we're going to penalize you for it. What does that mean? That means the price of all the Zeepas go up on Black Friday. And you know what happens on Cyber Monday? It goes up again. This is the last opportunity that you will have to get this great price for the Zeepa. This is the time now. You wait till Black Friday, the price is going up. Because remember, sleep is priceless. Go to Zeepa.com, that's ZYPPAH.com, and get the deal now.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Work with your doctor when taking medications. Make Protovite part of your healthy lifestyle.
HealthForLiberty.com is your source for Protovite, a powerful nutritional supplement that's a true breakthrough for your health. Poor digestion makes it nearly impossible to absorb the nutrition your body needs. Protovite is a liquid multi-nutrient formula with patent-pending absorption technology and the highest quality ingredients to nourish every cell in your body.
My name is Sandra White. 6 weeks ago, when I started taking Protovite, I was on 14 medications, from everything for blood pressure to fibromyalgia. In the first 10 days, my blood sugar dropped 50 points, and my fibromyalgia pain is gone. And so was 12 of the 14 medications that I was taking. I'm 66, living life and loving it.
Go to healthforliberty.com right now. That's healthforliberty.com.
Thank you, Protovite, for giving my life back.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ronny Le Blanc, his new book, Monsterland. And I'm sitting here tripping out in the chat rooms and Twitter, and everybody seems to love the Jimmy and the Zipa commercial. And I got to tell you, hey, Ronny, did you hear the commercial during the break?
I did. Awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I've got our advertising agency just sent me some more, and I've got like three new Jimmy Zipa commercials. And I'm like, man, I just want to listen for the fun, man. That's good stuff. So anyway, but it's great. Everybody loves what we're talking about, right? And then the Jimmy commercial just ran, and I'm just watching Twitter and the chat rooms light. It was pretty funny. Okay, now, before we get to the Orbs, I can only imagine how small Leominster. What's the population like around there?
There's like 60,000 people.
That's it, right? That's it.
Yeah.
So everybody's in everybody's business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Yeah. Everybody knows that this book is out, right?
They do.
They do. Local media, local press. I'm assuming there's been some attention.
Yeah, local radio, Boston radio, local paper here, other local media outlets, and our mayor has been very supportive of the New England UFO Conference, which is held every year in Leominster, of all places.
Right.
So yeah, it's started picking up some steam, and now it's available on Barnes and Noble and Amazon. So.
Well, how has it been? Has it been positive, or maybe they don't want this kind of attention in the area? I don't know. What's that been like?
It's been positive, and what's been amazing is the stories that people have.
That's where I'm going.
People that have read the book then say, you know what, 20 years ago, blah, 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 blah. And then they have a story that they haven't told anybody, because they're worried about being, called crazy and the ridicule that comes with all the stuff on both the Bigfoot and the UFO side. But what's amazing to me is the stories that people do have, and they're of craft landing, of craft flying over Route 2 on the way to Leominster. So I'm just like blown away by the stories that I'm hearing that are coming forward from this.
And there's one other element here we haven't talked about, and we can just touch upon it briefly. But, of course, we have the witches, right? You have that element, too, that you guys are absolutely famous for, right?
Now here's the wild thing, too, right? So Leominster has been part of the Underground Railroad. Leominster's also been featured. Several houses have been featured on every ghost hunting show out there.
Right.
So there's that piece that element. And now for me, when I would travel, I've been in advertising marketing for most of my career, and I was in New York City. This is several years ago, and every time I would travel, I'd love to go into different mom and pop bookstores, even just the local Barnes and Noble, whatever. And so I had gone into this one. I had maybe a little bit of time between a couple of different meetings, and it was by myself. I normally would go with, a different sales rep or whatever would come with me. So immediately I go right to the New Age section. I'm just checking to see different books, and I go to this spot, and I notice this lady kind of appears and kind of comes in the section, and she's looking at the books, but she keeps on looking over at me. And I was like, okay, what's up with this, and she's basically facing me and staring at me, and I'm like, look over and smile at her. And so she comes forward and says, hi, I just noticed that you're looking at the UFO books. I'm like, oh, yeah. I love the subject. I said, I've always been interested in this. I always kind of felt like I should write a movie about it. I just have an interest in it. And she's like, not a movie. It's going to be a book. I was like, what? She said, yeah, it's going to be a book. So, and she says, oh, I'm so-and-so. She's like, I'm a witch. I'm like, okay.
Right on.
How you doing?
Yeah.
And she, kind of starts talking to me about, the different subject matter. And, some of these books are great. Some of this is crap. And there's some good stuff. And she's like, I noticed your aura and all these different things. And I just kind of got spooked out. And again, it was one of those things that years later, and here I am writing a book, and I also remembered that lady, the witch, telling me that I would do this much, years later, and said it's not going to be soon, it's going to be a few years from now. I'm like, whoa, this is just too trippy.
Crazy. That's bizarre. You can't ignore that kind of stuff. You just can't. I've had it happen a couple of times in my life, and it just flips you out. And sometimes you just have to step back, and you can't stop things. You just got to let it ride out. You just got to ride it out. Now let's get to the Orbs, because before I get to my sightings of Orbs and stuff, and Rita and so forth, I've had many guests on the show. But the thing is, when it comes to this, Orbs are tied to, well, not every time, but seem to be tied to Indians and folklore and their legends and their mythology, where they are seen on a daily, nightly basis. It goes back forever, and there are different spots around the country. You have, of course, Brown Mountain, and you have Joshua Tree, California. You have Sedona, Arizona. You have these different areas where these sightings are frequent. And they go back, and if you talk to an American Indian about it, right, they're going, well, whatever, right? It's been going on here forever, right? And so let's start there. How long have these sightings have been going on? Because, the recent trend, obviously, is Chinese lanterns, right? We see them everywhere.
Right.
And when they pop up in videos, I usually can see through it. But that is taken off of the table if these sightings have gone back further in time.
Absolutely. My first experience with them was when I was coming home from Boston from work and getting off the exit, coming into Leominster, and then I noticed these two orange balls of light the size of a basketball, one kind of following the other, slowly flying over at a low altitude, and as I'm coming off, so much lower that you were lower than a plane that they were noticeable, that you could see them within your windshield. So they were definitely low enough that they were visible. And I rolled down the window, and this was in the winter time, so it was January, ice cold. But when I rolled down the window, I noticed I couldn't hear any sound coming from these things. And as I drove off the exit, they flew right over the car, and I was like mystified. Well, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And what I saw was, a ball of light, like this plasma type light. There was no Chinese lantern bag kind of candle flowing. These things one was following the other, and they're flying with some kind of direction and motivation. And so they flew over the car, and I was watching them. I came to the stoplight. I was like, oh, damn, I wish I pulled over, and didn't think to take out my phone and take a picture. Just when I saw these things, I just knew I was seeing something really different and out of this world almost. So I'm maybe 5 minutes from home. I get home, I jump on my computer, I tell my wife, what I saw, and here's that look from Close Encounters that she gives me, right? So I go to the computer and jump on Facebook, and I notice a friend of mine, Ryan Malahi, is on Facebook, and you can see that he's online at that point. And something possessed me just to send him a message what I just saw, because I had seen some of his posts that he's liked different kind of content, UFO stuff, whatever. And so I sent him this note. I'm like, you're not going to believe what I just saw. These 2 orange balls of light just flew over my car. So I sent him a message, and then I can see that he's typing back. And he responds, and it's like in all caps. He's like, you're blowing my mind right now. He's like, were you just at this, the Leominster connector 20 minutes ago, blah, blah, blah. I was like, whoa, how did you know that? He goes, I was on the other side where you were coming from and saw those come through at the same time. And so that was crazy to me, but as he talked a little bit further, I found out that he's a UFO investigator in the state of New Hampshire. So at the same time that I see these things flying over, he sees them. I have this inkling to send him a note about it. He happens to be the one person I reach out to that actually sees him at the same time, and he happens to be a UFO investigator. So that just threw my whole world around, like, what is going on? Who's pulling the strings?
Right. Okay. Your sighting is one thing. How long have the reports been going on? And were they always orange? I find that interesting. Were there other colors involved? Blue, green?
There have been sightings within Leominster State Forest of balls of light that have changed color, that were seen white, that would change from red to blue to green, and would chase people out of the forest. As I started doing some digging about specifically the orange orbs, those orange balls of light, I did find a case, interestingly enough, from 1952 of 8 different orbs that flew over, of all places, Fort Devens. And this was in the time when the military officers, they had an airport, they had no idea what these were. They were seen through binoculars. This is during the nighttime, and it was over a course of 5 or 6 hours, but these objects were seen coming, and they flew over the base. One went north, one went south, one went east, but they all seemed to fly right over the base, and they couldn't even explain what these things were. So this is way before there was the Chinese lantern craze. So I found that fascinating, that this has been going on for a long time. And like you mentioned earlier, the Marfa lights and these different spots around the country that have had this going on for years, hundreds of years.
In the same, for you, as I listen to you, and I'm trying to picture this, where you have the Leominster Forest, the town itself, and then you have Monsterland, and then you have the forest itself. Are the orange orbs, or orbs in general, seen in all 3 locations?
Yes, I have seen with Bill in Leominster State Forest. We had gone out like a night investigation, and this is one of the first times when all this stuff kind of started happening. And his story was on finding Bigfoot, and so that got picked up in the local press and local radio around here.
Right.
So we had gone and decided, hey, we're going to do this night investigation, and again, middle of January, and this is after the show had aired, and we want to kind of get back in there. So we drive up to the Granite Street entrance to Leominster State Forest. We get out, we probably get maybe half a mile down the trail, and we get these crappy flashlights and get that sense right away that you're being watched and you're, what are we doing? And so we end up turning around and heading back to the cars and looking at, we don't have any other flashlights, maybe we should just call us tonight. What are we doing? And as we're sitting there talking, and Bill kind of looks at the outline, in the wintertime, you can definitely see everything. There's not a lot of leaves on the trees aside from the pine trees, and you can see the outline of what's called Bobcat Mountain. And at the edge around that area is where the tracks were found, and he said, where we really need to go is, towards the edge there at that peak of Bobcat Mountain. No one really goes out to that point. I bet you we'll find some stuff. So we're talking, we're looking at the area, and off the corner of my eye, and the left of my vision, I see this ball of light seem to just kind of appear in the sky. And so I nudge Bill, and he looks over, and I go, what are you seeing right now? It's like an orange ball of light. This thing just starts moving towards the forest, towards Bobcat Mountain. And I'm like, what are we looking at right now? And it came out of nowhere. It wasn't like we saw this thing kind of come in. It just seemed to appear. Well, it heads towards Bobcat Mountain. And as it gets to close to the edge of the woods, right by the trees, we can see it starting to light up the forest. But once it hits the forest inside, it illuminates the whole forest in a big widening circle. And we knew, this was just not a plane. This thing is going through the trees, like maneuvering through the trees right now. And we're watching this. And right where Bill had pointed to, this ball of light stops, hovers for a second, and shoots straight into the ground and disappears.
Oh, wow.
And there was just dead silence.
That's cool.
And all you could hear was me and Bill breathing like
right.
What the hell just happened?
How big was that one?
They all seem, the ones that I've seen have all seemed to be within that diameter of a basketball.
Right.
That's that type of size.
The ones that flew over the car?
Same.
Okay.
Yep.
Before I talk about what I've seen, I'm wondering, has there, okay, that one went into the ground. The other ones were over your car. I get that. And those, you witnessed those. How about anything that went in the opposite direction, like to the stars?
I have not seen that. I've seen that steady kind of moving, almost that lateral across the sky, but disappearing, like almost going behind some kind of door.
Right.
But I've never seen one kind of shooting straight up. I've always seen them kind of moving laterally. Now,
we often talk about this American Indian, native land connection. But what do you think you are seeing? Do you think it's spirits? Do you think it's something else? Do you think it's electromagnetic? Do you think it's a natural occurrence? Swamp gas? What do you think you are seeing?
What I've experienced, I've seen them quite a few times now. There seems to be some kind of connection and some kind of response to your conscious intent and what you're thinking, or maybe even what you say.
Right.
Just like that story that I mentioned with Bill. He was over. This is a few weeks before we had the New England UFO conference, and they had asked us to speak on Friday night with Nick, and then again on Saturday. And they said, "Can you guys do something different? Maybe on the Orange Orbs possibly, something else." And we're, we have some different kind of stories about that. Yeah, we can dive into that. So we were huddling up at my house and sitting down at the table and talking, and then all of a sudden he really just kind of stands up and says, let's go outside. I'm like, oh, okay. So we walk outside my porch, and we walk down the stairs, and I look up at the sky, and there's 3 orange orbs hanging in the sky in a triangle formation, just hovering there. And I was like, oh my God, Bill, go get my camera, my phone. So he runs back inside, grabs my phone, it's charging on the side there, and I start filming. And, these things were fiery orangey red, but circular plasma. You can see it spinning. It wasn't, Chinese lantern. You could see these things are actually moving in different directions. So it wasn't like the wind was taking them all to the east at one point. And it was just fascinating that they seemed to just show up, and Bill had this inkling that let's go outside. And then within a minute and a half, they, one by one, they just still stood there. They didn't move, and they just blinked out like Okay, I guess we're going to write about orange orbs. We'll do a presentation on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting aspect to this because of what I have seen, right? Where I think that there is a direct connection to thought. And I don't want to, when I find myself speaking like this, I'm just like, church, shut up. Right? Okay, you don't want to be this guy that you're representing right now. But the evidence and what I have seen is exactly that. And I know for the skeptics out there, the people that are listening, they don't get it. Well, they haven't experienced it. And once you do, it's you can't correlate, you can't connect anything else. Right. And that's I think that there is a connection, and I don't know what it is. I really, really don't. And so
what I keep on thinking about, Jimmy, is Ben Rich, right?
Yes.
What that statement about he was pointing to his head and it's about consciousness and ESP. It's like, is that where that next level of understanding is going to get us to is going down that realm.
Well, Tom
there
DeLong,
is that connection.
Right. Tom DeLong is talking about that right now. And with there was this we had a little party in a Contact in the Desert, the Fadernauts, and we're at the Fader house. And at this party, it was really funny because I don't remember exactly who was there at one time, but I believe we had a bunch of the Fadernauts there. Man, I could go down the list. Allison was there. Her husband was there. I'm just trying to go down the list. Dave Cruz was there for sure. Les was there. Cortana was there. Well, anyway, Nancy was there. And of course, Rita was there. And another, Dan was there. So we had about 15 Fadernauts. And then we had Richard Dolan. He was there. Mike Barra was there. Lori McDonald was there. Holly Cook was there. Holly's husband, Mark, was there. David Wilcock was there. Corey Good was there, right? So we had a pretty good collection of witnesses, right? And so frigging Lori McDonald goes, I'm a UFO magnet. Watch this. Oh, yeah, Javier Sandoval was there with his night vision. And she runs out in front of everybody and just goes, watch this. I'm a UFO magnet. And blinks this. She goes, there's one right over there. And she points to this black spot in the sky, flashes this laser beam. And as we're all standing there, this frigging thing blinks back. Right? I was like, wow. Wait a minute here. That's pretty trippy. And as that is going on, I grabbed the night vision and I just told Mike Barra and Richard Dolan my story from Rita and I's experience the night before, where we had the mass sighting, right, that everybody knows about. And so Barra's like, church, come on. There's a Air Force base right over here. There's a Marine base right over here. Come on, what do you think you were? And so he's poo-pooing everything. Dolan is going, hey, man, I wish I would have been there. That sounds totally amazing. Well, okay, half hour later, all this craziness starts going on. And I get up, and I've got the night vision, and at that moment, I just take the goggles, and I point to this dark spot in the sky, and this frigging orb lights up, this craft, and it takes off, and it's going west in a straight line. And I go there, and Dolan's like, church, man, what do you see? What do you see? Hand me the goggles. So I give him the night vision. He's looking, and he's using every bad word in the English language. He's having a heart attack. And Mike Barra, doofus, Mike Barra, who I love, he's my brother, I get it, but, who was poo-pooing on everything, he gets the goggles. He worked for Boeing. He can identify anything. Right. So then he gets the goggles, and he's looking up in the sky, and he's seeing the same thing. And all of this, and this is back to my point, Ronnie, all of this was a show for us.
Right.
You know,
we're all brought there.
That's
that point in
I'm
time.
telling you. And look, there are people that are going to listen to this show later or listening to this show now, and they're going, "Oh, come on." You know what? I don't care. I don't care. Care. We had 15, 20, 30 people sitting behind us. Everybody watching what's going on. We're videotaping. We're this. We're that. And it is what it is. I can't explain it. I'm not telling you if it's UFOs. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you that is how it happened. And it was amazing to see. And that's where this whole tie-in to the positive energy, right? That it just seems to me that it happened because we asked for it to happen.
Right.
And that's all I can say.
You know, that it reminds me of this past summer. We usually go to Cape Cod for a week or so, and we went down, and we were there for probably middle of the week so far, maybe 3 days, and I thought to myself, man, it'd be really cool to see some orange orbs, you know, over the ocean flying around. But I said, what would be great, is if other people would see it.
Right.
So a couple hours later, you know, where my wife and I, the kids are down, we're sitting on the porch, we're on the beach, we're at this Three Seasons, which is in Dennisport, right on the beach. There's a bar, it's closing down. 10:30, we're sitting there. We're the only ones sitting on the porch, and we notice a table of about 10 people, like lawn furniture, sitting out in the courtyard. It's almost like Melrose Place. There's about 60 units all around. There's a grass courtyard in the middle, and then the ocean, the beach right there. So we see this table and about 10 or so people, and we're talking, we're playing cards. Now, I'm facing the ocean, she's facing the other direction. We're the only ones out on this patio, on our little porch. And then all of a sudden, this group of people grabs the table and the chairs, and they move underneath, directly almost underneath where we're at. And we're on the second floor of the balcony. So we start to kind of talk a little bit lower, like they're listening to us, like what is going on? Of all the places they're going to move into here.
Right.
Well, as we're talking, I see, and we're playing cards, and my wife Amy's looking at me, and I see two orbs fly right behind her over the ocean. I'm like, oh my God. I go, Amy, turn around. She's like, no. I go, turn around. She's like, please, no. She turns around, she sees it, she's like, son of a bitch. She's like, you got to be kidding me. It's like they're following us here. And I jumped up. I go, there's going to be more coming. So I ran downstairs to the truck and went to go grab my binoculars. And as I was trying to make my way across the grass where these people are sitting, one of the guys grabs me and says, dude, what is that? I go, oh, those are orange orbs. He's like, what? He said, hold on 1 second. And I literally had just printed the book. I had copies in the car like a week before. I had just printed that. So just I grabbed the book, and I came running back, and I grabbed my binoculars, and I handed him a book. And a couple of the friends kind of gathered around, and one of the guys looked at the cover and the orange orbs and took off running. He got freaked out. And I said, I literally just wrote the book about this kind of stuff. And as we're sitting there talking, I noticed that they all had cameras and binoculars. And like, we just saw these things last night as we're sitting here talking and having a couple of drinks, and they're flying one after another, flying across the ocean, going in the same direction. So we decided to come back out and see if we can catch them.
I need to jump in right there. We got to take a break, and we'll finish this right after this commercial break. All right, Ronnie, I apologize for that. I got to do it. Got to pay the bills. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Ronny Le Blanc. We're talking about his book, Monsterland. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Did you know 40% of all cancer could be prevented? That's a fact. Along with maintaining appropriate body weight and regular exercise, the American Institute for Cancer Research and the USDA confirm that eating 9 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables every day is the key. Now ask yourself, Am I at risk? How many servings of fruits and vegetables did I eat today? Balance of Nature has solved this problem and provides an easy and affordable way to consume over 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables every day.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code TSL.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store. So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If your home has hard water, then it's likely that limescale is clogging your pipes, damaging your appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars each year. You can eliminate limescale in the entire house with HydroCare products available at Wave Home Solutions. Easy and efficient with no maintenance, no salts, no chemicals, and no coils. And you can buy with confidence from Wave Home Solutions. Performance guaranteed. Just go to bestwater411.com. That's bestwater411.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. We're talking to author Ronny Le Blanc about his new book, Monsterland. You can get the book at RonnyLeBlanc.com. You can get it on Amazon. The links are up in Twitter now, and you can follow Ronny on Twitter at author R. LeBlanc. That's, you know, the C is there just to separate Ronny from all the other Ronny LeBlancs out there that are running with K's. So he runs with a C. That's pretty cool. Hey, so Ronny, right before the break, we're talking about the sightings over the lake and what is going on there, and I had to cut you off. So let's pick up right there. So everybody said that they were watching this before, and now they're out to see them again, and there they are.
Yeah, and we're right outside of the ocean, right on the beach. And so I basically hand them a book and say, these are orange orbs. And as we're talking, another pair kind of follows that same first two that went by. And they're all freaking out. But what was wild is Cape Cod is 3 hours from Leominster. All of these people that were there were all from Fitchburg and Winchendon, which are neighboring towns. So they were from the same area. So they heard of Monsterland And that was, again, one of these weird synchronistic things that happened. I was like, again, just keeps on, somebody else is kind of pulling the strings here. What is going on?
Right.
It seems to continue and seems to keep on popping up, and then similar situations with other researchers and other authors, same kind of scenarios.
Now, it seems to me that you're trying to hide your Boston accent. How do you say Leominster correctly if you're from Boston?
Leominster.
Oh,
Leominster.
See, I still think you're trying to hide it. I still think you're trying. Say chowder.
Chowder.
See, that's Leominster. Leominster. You really are descriptive and fun when you tell us these experiences. But I got to be straight with you. You'd be the wrong guy at a campsite in the dark around a campfire, sharing these experiences, man.
Nobody would sleep.
Yeah, you do it really well. Now I want to get into, and maybe we'll take some phone calls too. The phones have been lighting up, and I've been ignoring everything. 323-825-5045. I'll let a couple of people jump in really quick before we wrap the show. 323-825-5045. Now, there's the interdimensional side and aspect to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be some kind of connection here with not only with Bridgewater, but when you have these Native American sacred lands, these sightings coming and going, the way that you described your own Bigfoot sighting too as well, I feel some interdimensionality to this, which I'm a big proponent of. Have you started to make these connections?
Yes, and the book goes down that path. Like Nick Redfern had mentioned before, the book is very controversial because it definitely goes down that direction, but it seems that the cases and the evidence lead you down that path. There just seems to be so many stories of, posses kind of having this creature cornered and all of a sudden just disappears, and there's just nowhere for this thing to go. People seeing craft just seem to be blinking out, as if they're kind of going to another dimension or flipping onto the other side. I've had talked to people that have been from this area that have seen what looked like almost like a portal opening up and a craft coming out. And these stories seem to continue, and they've been in the history, and a lot of the researchers, people like John Keel and others that have been doing this for a long time, had come to the conclusion that there is some kind of interdimensionality to all this, and that might be what kind of that connects all this phenomena together.
With the Bigfoot sightings that are there, the interdimensional side of Bigfoot and those possibilities. The reason why I jumped there is, and I want you to comment on this, is that we've never found a body, right?
Correct.
We've never found a body.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing them into the woods and having a sighting and then never catching up or whatever. It seems like the easiest answer is the correct one here. That just maybe something is popping in from another dimension, another timeline, a parallel something, and is popping in, saying hello, and then going back to where they came from. Right?
Right. When I first started experiencing the orange orb phenomena was right around that. It was literally, I think, a few days prior to the Finding Bigfoot episode coming out. And when I started doing more digging about Sally Shepard, some other writers that had experiences with Bigfoot and had these experiences with the orange orbs, I started to kind of go, wow, is this area, is that connection real with orange orbs and Bigfoot. And as I kind of dug a little bit further, I realized that there is a connection there with that, whether the interdimensional aspect, where they can kind of turn into these balls of light, which shamans have been reportedly been able to do in Native American cultures. So it just, and with the spirit element as well, and a lot of Native Americans talk about Sasquatch living on both worlds, that they can kind of come and go as they please.
I've got. I just wanted to announce out. I thought you were finished. Yeah. I just want to announce out to everybody. I've got issues again with the phones, so I tried to bring in a couple of calls, couldn't do it. So there you go. Don't freak out, everybody. I'm not ignoring you. It just ain't working. So I will defer to any questions or comments. Just fly it over into Twitter or one of the chat rooms. And Dazed wants to know if there are any university labs nearby.
There is Fitchburg State University, but nothing to the extent that, like Montauk or anything like that. We do have Harvard and everything in Boston, but not within that close proximity. What is interesting is Worcester is a part of Central Mass, and Robert Goddard, who is considered the father of NASA, started launching his first rockets at Fort Devens using that area. And the president of WPI, Worcester Polytech Institute, is former NASA. So there is that element in this area, which is interesting, but nothing specifically with a lab in the close proximity.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you said Montauk, because as I'm looking now where your location is, Montauk is right there. It's due south. Now, you've got to go, a good chunk of distance, but I looked at Montauk right as you said that, and I find that pretty interesting. Weird is that? That's pretty trippy, man, because I was reading it as you said it. But Boston, how many universities are in Boston, right? 100? Some stupid amount.
There's tons. I think out of the country, it's the most colleges within the city. The top schools: BC, BU, Harvard, MIT.
Yeah, everything is right there. Okay, let's see here. Are there? Somebody wanted to know about the colors of the orbs. Were they orange or were they red orange?
I've seen orange, and they definitely have this reddish color to them. My wife has seen green orbs, green balls of light actually coming from the sky and diving into Wachusett Reservoir, which is part of Leominster State Forest. So that's been reported as well. But the orbs, I've definitely seen that orange, and they have a reddish, but I have not seen a full red, ball of light. They definitely have that orange kind of color to it.
Where is the Four Corners area?
The Four Corners.
Because I'm looking for it here. The question is there a pattern with portal areas and orange orbs? Say Four Corners area. Oh, of the Southwest. Oh, I didn't see the Southwest part of it. Okay. The question is from KM. Is there a pattern with portal areas and orange orbs? Say Four Corners area of the Southwest. Are there orb sightings there? So I guess she's referring to the Four Corners area, not directly back to Monsterland in the forest. But in the Four Corners area of the United States, in your research, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Nevada, I think it is. Is there orange orb sightings there?
I have heard of sightings all over the country and there as well. The one interesting piece of another interesting area, which not many people know about, is up in Salem, New Hampshire, which is due north of Monsterland and Leominster. and it's considered America's Stonehenge. It's a part of different stone sites, chambers, and things of that. And Leominster is believed to be a extension of that.
Wait, whoa. Pump the brakes here.
Mm-hmm.
How close are you to America's Stonehenge?
We are probably an hour south.
That's a trip. That's a trip.
Right?
Have you been over there?
I have.
I have. Okay.
And it's really, really interesting. And I go into the connection of Mystery Hill and Leominster in the book and why that connection kind of came to be. And it's pretty fascinating.
Did you see the, what's the word I want to use here? I don't want to get too dark. The sacrifice stone slab. Did you see that, the table?
There you go. That's what is sitting outside of Leominster Historical Society that was discovered off of Granite Street in Leominster State Forest where the Bigfoot tracks were found.
Wow.
That particular slab was found in Leominster that resembled the one that is up at Mystery Hill in Salem, New Hampshire.
Right.
And that's why there is a connection, they believe, between the sites, that it was almost an extension or a part of Mystery Hill in some respects because of that same similar slab that looked to be a sacrificial table. Now, Leominster Historical Society may say it's an apple press. Those grooves were for the cider, the juice.
Yeah, cider, maple syrup, right?
Yes, right. But it is similar to that, and it was discovered by the son of his dad ran a detective agency in Leominster. There was also a strange boulder, this rock that seemed to be similar to the Dighton Rock in Massachusetts that had Phoenician writing and almost like Egyptian writing on it.
That's right.
That disappeared.
Right.
So there's a lot of mystery to this whole area, and it has all these pieces that all these other sites across the country have. And it's amazing to me that it's just been sitting here and no one's really taken notice.
Did they ever find that boulder?
It disappeared. It never seemed to kind of resurface again. I know the slab, that sacrificial table, is sitting up front of the Historical Society, but that boulder, which, from my understanding, was, you couldn't move it unless you had some kind of heavy machinery.
Yeah.
Disappeared.
Yeah, Scott Wolter was telling me about that. Like, he was out there, he looked at it and, checked it out, low tide, right? Saw it, photographed it, video, went back, and it was gone, right? And he had said,
wow.
Dude, it was huge. I mean, and it would take, like heavy equipment to have gotten it, and nobody witnessed anything.
That just the conspiracy theorist in me kind of perks up at that. It's like, what, someone hiding something, but something that's 600, 700, 800 pounds can't just disappear overnight.
Right. And what about ley lines? I've
looked into that, and what is interesting is that the ley lines don't necessarily fly through Leominster, but the lines do seem to form a triangle around Leominster. So we're almost in the center of three different type of lines.
There you go.
And I've tried to, so I try to dig into that piece as well because there's an energy element to it. And again, with the different ley lines and different spots, I try to line those up, and we don't necessarily fall into the access point, but we do seem to fall in between and seem to create almost our own little triangle here.
Now, okay. Now let's, as we wind down here, I kind of saved the best for last. Ghosts, sightings, hauntings. What goes on there?
There's been some interesting ghost stories and different sightings. Bill Penning can tell you some stories that will make you not sleep for days. But there's definitely a particular story that he had staying at this particular house that him and his wife, when they first got married. And one night the power went out in the entire complex. There was about 4 or 5 different apartments. So he called the landlord and said, the power just went out. Where's the breakers? And she said, oh, it's in the basement, but it was locked. And she had to kind of show up to unlock it so he can get down there. Well, when she showed up, she was freaking out. She was so scared and trembling, and she was grabbing his shirt. And as they're walking in, she gave him the keys to unlock the door. And he's like, what is going on? He unlocks the door, and she points to, where the breaker is. They turn the lights back on. She's like, I'm not going in there. That's where you need to go. And he's like, what is your problem? She's like, there's a ghost in there. There's something in there. And he's like, okay. So he goes and turns the breakers on, comes back out. She takes off and won't tell him anything else. So they go back up in the apartment, and they had a couple of friends over, and they're talking about, the ghosts and everything. He's like, oh, maybe there's some kind of spirit in here. And so they started fooling around, and Bill kind of felt like something kind of popped into him. And he kind of got the shakes. And from that point forward, the next, days going forth, the toaster oven would turn on and go hot. The lights would start flashing up like poltergeist. And so he wasn't sleeping. He couldn't figure anything out. He goes to work. He comes back, and as he's pulling up to the house, he sees a woman in the window of his apartment and opens the window. And it was almost like what he described, almost like Aunt Jemima kind of character. And he was like, who's in my apartment? So he sees this, and he wouldn't even go into the house that night. And it was just spooked him out. He starts doing some digging and finds out that the house was part of the Underground Railroad, and that there were about 10 different slaves that had died within the apartment when the tunnel collapsed on top of them. And so all these different kind of sightings and experiences happened at that particular spot that they ended up taking off. And there's similar stories of these different areas and different houses that have these encounters with ghosts and everything else. And that seems to, again, playing a part of the whole area and the whole mystique that Leominster has.
Have you gone around with EM meters, K2 meters, Geiger counters, and check for residual stuff, whether it is EM or possible radiation, the rock formations? Is there something that is causing the activity? Because you mentioned the power lines, and that right there,
right.
It makes you stop and take pause. But have you gone out with meters and checked out the area?
We have not, and that's something that is in the works, where we're planning on heading back in and doing some stuff with FLIRs, drones, and bringing some other resources in to kind of do a little bit more digging. But that's one of those pieces that we want to bring sort of scientific research into this and bring instrumentation that's going to help classify this. And, yeah.
Right. And what about, you mentioned, disappearing, I was going to say bodies, disappearing people. Do you have a tally? I mean, how many people have, died in this area in Monsterland, or have disappeared altogether? What is that number?
When I've done the digging, it seems that there's a very small number of people that have gone missing within the Leominster vicinity. Leominster State Forest, which does encompass 5 different cities. I haven't dug deeper than beyond kind of like the Leominster area, but there's only about 4 or 5 disappearances within the last 50 years. And they don't seem to fit any type of cases in correlation to the dates. But some of the other cities that I have not really started digging could have some of those disappearances that would tie into the forest. But one interesting thing is the Mid-State Trail runs through Leominster State Forest, which runs from Rhode Island to New Hampshire and is 95 miles. So there is a straight path, a corridor that goes all the way almost through New England, through Leominster State Forest. So that's another interesting aspect. If this is, and my research and everything I've done now, I don't believe that it's truly an animal, what Bigfoot is. I think there's something more to that. But I do find that interesting that this trail that is so large runs right through the middle of Leominster State Forest is pretty amazing.
What do the rangers say? The forest rangers?
One of the rangers, former forest ranger that was out in Western Mass, had a visual sighting and told me his story. This happened maybe 6 or 7 years ago, where he was out working third shift and was going to different campsites and collecting the trash, dumpsters, moving everything. Well, he went to this particular site. It was almost like 2:30, 3 in the morning. He grabs the barrel and starts walking towards the truck, and something stops him, and he turns around, and there's a smaller Bigfoot holding the other side of the trash. And he's face to face with this thing, and it's almost like a tug of war. And he lets go in shock. Well, this thing grabs the trash and, pulls it right into the forest line. Well, he pulls up his flashlight and points it at it to see where it's going. And when he points the light at the flashlight, the light at the forest line, there's a 9-foot Bigfoot waiting for the other one, almost like the father and the son, or the mother and the son.
Right.
And he freaks out.
Wow.
And takes off.
Wow.
And there's been other similar reports in that area in Western Mass that had visual sightings of, from rangers. So it's not, Joe Schmo going for a hike. These are, forestry experts that have been doing this for all their lives that are having these experiences as well.
Absolutely fascinating conversation tonight, Ronnie. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Great work, great research, great book. But I have to ask you, man, where are you going to take this next?
We're starting to collaborate with other researchers in the area. We're working with the BFRO in Massachusetts. We're starting to work with some other researchers in Rhode Island and Connecticut, and we're hoping to collaborate and put together some video evidence and do some overnights and do some documenting that hopefully we can put something together like a documentary possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep us posted as that moves along. I think that's fascinating. And there is something going on up there, man. There is something definitely going on. And I'm glad you got the book out. The book is a great read. And it's available on Amazon. Everybody can go to Ronnie's website, too. All of the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can certainly follow Ronnie on Twitter, author R. Le Blanc. At Twitter, it's all simple. It's easy. The links are up. Go and do it. Ronnie, thank you so much. Great conversation tonight. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it, brother, so much.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. And I'll be talking to you tomorrow about something else. And you know what I'm talking about.
Good.
So I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited.
Behave, Ronnie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Ronnie Le Blanc, everybody. Like I said, the links are up at jimmychurchradio.com. Very simple. RonnieLeBlanc.com. Author R. LeBlanc is Twitter. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. The book is Monsterland. Now, when I come back, I'm going to try to suss out these phone lines, 323-825-5045. I'll open them up. Let's do it. I'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Yeah, man. Great conversation. Thank you, Ronny Le Blanc, so much. Great conversation. You know, and with the darkness that this show went down because of the P word in the elections, it was just harsh, man. Absolutely harsh. And to get back to what is real, what I enjoy and what you enjoy, which is the paranormal and little Bigfoot, little UFO thrown in, and some orange orbs just to make sure we get through the night. Fantastic conversation. Thank you so much. All right, 323-825-5045. I've got all these calls lined up, but this one keeps coming in. I just want to see hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, what's cracking? Jimmy, Brad here.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
Good, brother. I can't believe I finally got through. So.
Well, you did. Well, you know, I was watching all these calls coming in, and yours just kept coming in, hanging up, coming in. I'm just like, okay, I got to let this guy through. He goes to the front of the line. This guy's determined. So there you go. So what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was just digging Ronnie's stories, man. It got me kind of amped to talk about some I encountered myself.
Oh, with what? Bigfoot? You had a Bigfoot encounter?
No, actually, I had a UFO encounter.
Okay, what happened?
Check it out. Back 2014, my wife and I are chilling on the boat down in Dana Point, and it's about 10 o'clock at night. I'm waiting for my buddy to show up, you know. We're going to go do a little fishing. And shows up, and we're like, you know, right on, having a good time. A couple cocktails, you know, to go out and have a good time.
Right.
Dude, next thing you know, my brother's like, dude, I don't know what the F that is over there, but check that out. You know, we look to the north off the coast of Dana Point, and, dude, I crap you not on this one, bro. 25 glowing orbs, freaking moving like all in unison, glowing, freaking pulsating in unison. I gotta catch my breath. I'm getting excited. Hold on a second.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, dude, I was tripping. Like, it wasn't like a quick thing. Like, the whole thing that led up to it was like, you know, listening to all the stories, like friends telling me stuff.
Right.
And, like, I didn't believe in seeing, like, UFOs or nothing. But, dude, when you see it yourself, it freaking changes your life, brother.
It does. It does.
You know, you've been to contact in the desert. I've been out there 3 times. It's amazing, brother. It's a crazy experience. So I'm going to make a long story short. About 5 minutes goes on. The orbs are going. They're pulsating kind of in and out of each other, like glowing, kind of like an amber color. And they're just like in and out, moving south. And if you know where San Clemente and like Dana Point is,
I do.
Cannock Chase, the power plant down there.
Yep.
They're heading towards the power plant from Dana Point. So like, I'm tripping. We get out of the boat. We're on the dock now. We're just like, holy S, dude. What the heck is going on? They're like moving in unison, and like it's just not going up or down. It's just straight pattern, boom, in and out, like 25 or more, like maybe even 30 of them, Jimmy. It was nuts, dude. And like,
did they head down? Hey, Brad, really quick before I let you go, and thank you for the phone call. As they went down south towards San Onofre, where the nuclear plants, did they go out to the ocean or did they go in? Because right past that is Camp Pendleton, right? The Marine installation.
Well, honestly, they went right about to that area, you know, about 5 minutes there cruising. They slowly started ascending, going up, straight up, dude. And
wow.
Like spreading out, and then all of a sudden one of them, boom, takes off like lightning, dude, going blue. Just blew fast. Bam! Like you've seen that video of like the Jerusalem orb that took off of Jerusalem?
Yep.
Same exact thing. Not only one, but 2. Boom, boom. Slowly ascended. Some of them disappeared. Other ones acted like stars, and looked like a constellation. And that's all I got to say, brother. I just want to spit it out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
the
phone.
I got a Bigfoot story too, real quick. I think Bigfoots are an evolved Neanderthal that are spiritually evolved. And they've been able to, like, tap into that extra dimension through spirituality through the years. That's something I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, you might be right on that. You might be right. They've been evading us for sure, right? So,
totally, my brother.
Hey, thank you for the phone call, and thank you for sharing that with us, Brad.
All right, see you at Contact, my brother.
I'll see you at Contact. There you go. Let's see. I'll just go in order here. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, Fran. Oh, you're going to tell me about your dream?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened. Look, I'm going to let everybody know. Fran thought she was being all secretive over in the chat room, trying to be all private about her dream, and I jumped in and said, what dream? I want to know. So here you are. Okay, Fran, what was the dream?
Okay. I was standing in a room with a bunch of people that I didn't recognize, people I didn't know.
Okay.
And there was a window, huge window, looking out over the horizon. And I was looking at it, and all of a sudden this blue swirl started, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden in the center of it, here comes this little blue ball of light coming straight at where I was at. And as it was coming in, it was getting larger and larger. And when it finally engulfed the room, it was big enough to hold probably 30 or 40 people.
Okay.
And the next thing I knew, I was coming to and walking away from it out onto a landscape that was, it looked really weird, like the ground was burnt, like You know when you see those movies where a body is burnt and it's crispy skin all over and it's broken up into sections?
Well, I try not to visualize that too often, Fran, but I get where you're going. I get where you're going.
As I walked out, all of a sudden all these green plants started growing up between the cracks.
What?
And it started turning into a beautiful, I don't even know what to call it. It was just so weird in my dream. I was like, what the hell is going on here? You know, these plants were sprouting up and growing in front of my face, like from a little sprout to 2 and 3 feet tall in seconds.
Was it the Mary Jane?
No.
Okay. Hey, Rita, really quick, while I have Fran on the phone, text me, how is our pomegranate tree going? We've got a second pomegranate tree growing that grew by itself, right? And Fran, check this out.
They're awesome.
Yeah. Oh, we have one that is just amazing, right? That we've been growing.
We had one down in Phoenix.
So
it was great.
A couple of months ago, we're in the backyard, and Rita's goofing. She goes, "Jimmy, come here, look." And I look down, and like 30 feet from our pomegranate tree on the other side of the yard is a baby pomegranate tree, just growing out of nowhere. And so we took it because it couldn't grow where it is, because that's right next to our lemon tree, right? It just wouldn't work. It was like 6 inches away.
Right.
So we dug it out. And Rita transplanted it into a pot, and she just texted me and said it's thriving. So we're like parents, right? But gently, repot it, and then and it looked good, right? And it's only 4 inches tall, 5 inches tall, and it had leaves all over it, and it was awesome, right? Little baby pomegranate tree, and then about a week later. This is last month, we walked out, and all of the leaves had fallen off. And it was now just a stem, right? Like a twig.
Creepy.
And we were bummed. And I was like, no, we got to hang in there. Maybe it's fall. Maybe it knows it's fall, right? And then, like a week ago, Rita got all, Jimmy, I run over. And at the top of the twig, and it's just, Fran, it's only 4 inches tall, right? At the top were two teeny tiny little green sprouts. And then a couple of, and those turned into little tiny leaves. And Rita now says it's thriving. I feel so much better. better.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I have so
That's
much.
Very awesome. But this one was one of those epic, crazy dreams where you go, I'm lucid in the dream.
Right.
And when it finally stopped, everybody who came in through that blue sphere that came to us were all outside and talking about, wow, the landscape looks baked, but it just grew up really fast.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, my God.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And when I woke up, I thought, it kind of sounds like that old biblical thing about the old earth and the new earth. And I thought, okay, some of us are going to go there and see that happen.
So what do you think now? What's the significance of the dream now that you've had the time to think about it? And you've told a couple of people, too, as well. What kind of feedback?
Well, I talked to Kat about it, but no real big deal. I don't try and put too much significance to it. I just accept it as it is, and then I wait for the next one.
Right.
Because I've had a whole lot of other crazy dreams about being off planet and look in the mirror and go, oh, yeah, it's me. And then I'm trying to wake myself up by slapping myself in the face, and I don't wake up.
I've never had an off-planet dream, but what I did have And this went on for probably, I think I might have talked about it on the show before, but this probably went on for 10 years, maybe 15 years, 10 years. I had this reoccurring dream that probably went on from 1995 to around 2010 or so. And the dream was I'm out in a lonely highway kind of thing, but I'm with a group of people, and I think we're actually pulled over on the side of the road. There's something going on. And we get out of the cars, and then off in the distance, we see these large ships, but not, I want to say, a military vibe, something coming across the desert, right? Very close to the ground. And it's big, and it's making noise, and and whatever. But as it gets up to us and cruises past us, it's this massive mile-long white craft ship thing that is Air Force. And it's long, and it
had the insignia.
Yeah, I mean, it was us, right? It was us. And it goes by, and then another one goes by, and another one goes by, and it was and this dream I had 1,000 times. And the thing that was significant about it was we started talking, and my mind was thinking at the time in the dream that I knew it. I knew we had stuff like this being built. I knew this, and now they're out. They're out taking care of business, and I knew this was going on. Well, anyway, I had this dream reoccurring for a long time, and then this is what's really weird. Then the movie 2012 comes out with John Cusack, right? And at the end of the movie, when they're on the quest to go to, they have the secret passes or the tickets to go somewhere, right? And they get and those the ark that is in the movie was exactly what was in my dream. And when I saw it in the movie, I mean, I turned to read it and I go, that's and it freaked me out, Fran. It freaked me out.
You are so lucky to have somebody right there with you that you can tell that's what I saw.
Why? Because she just turns to me.
I don't have that.
No, she calls me crazy.
I call friends and tell them my crazy dream.
And she just calls me crazy and nuts, and I'm crazy, and I'm making it up and whatever, But but I've had that dream, but I've never had an off-planet dream. Some vivid thing. No, I have not had some lucid dream off planet. Never. I remember my dreams. Rita doesn't remember her dream. Well, she's starting to. That's what's scary. Rita's really starting to trip me out with this stuff. So I had this dream last night, and she never used to do that. I used to ask her all the time. I mean, I can't tell you. You can ask her yourself. I can't tell you how many times over the years that we've had this conversation that she doesn't remember her dreams. Me, I remember everything. We all know that. I talk about it all the time. I remember my dreams.
I went years without dreaming.
Really? That sucks.
Yeah.
No, man.
Yeah, no kidding. I had to quit my job, and it took me another 3 years to start dreaming again, or being able to remember the dreams. I was working a weird shift.
Right.
Like getting up at 3:00 in the morning to go to work, and it was interrupting everything.
Wow.
So for probably 4.5 years, I don't remember anything of dreams.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, Brad just...
when you screw up your circadian sleep thing, it messes with your dreams. And also, smoking pot will also prevent you from dreaming.
Really?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I don't do that stuff.
Rita, are you listening? That explains a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Fran. You're busting everybody here. Thank you for the phone call, and thank you for sharing that dream. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Fran.
Okay.
Behave and be well.
Have a good night.
You too, Fran. Fran with the dream. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, really quick before we run out of time here, and I just hung up on 3 callers right in a row. I didn't mean to do that, everybody. I don't mean to be rude. And everybody is calling in right now. Look, relax. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to do this really fast. Okay, let's go to 504 first. Okay, really quick. I just wanted to say hello. You're live on Fade to Black. I don't want to be rude.
Good evening, darling. How are you?
I'm doing good. Who's this?
I'm Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Fantastic.
What's up? What's on your mind?
I just want to know what's going on in this crazy deal with all this stuff in this world. That's what I want to know.
Well, we all want to know that. Well, I'll tell you what, Lisa, tomorrow night is open lines, Fader night. Call me back tomorrow night, and let's have a nice long chat, all right?
Okay, I will.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. We're at the end of the show. I just wanted to pick up all of these calls that are sitting here. So I'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lisa. All right, and there you go. Okay, really quick. A massive 1,500-year-old stone complex that I mentioned the other night on the air that may have been built by nomad tribes has been discovered near the eastern shore of the Caspian Sea in Kazakhstan. The complex, now, I'm mentioning this now because Mark Tarana had just, I'm going to retweet this right here. No, Dan had tweeted this. Hey, Dan, how you doing? He just tweeted this out with pictures. The pictures are amazing. You need to go and check it out. Go to our Facebook page. The complex contains numerous stone structures sprawled over 300 acres of land, or more than 200 American football fields. Archaeologists reported recently in the journal Ancient Civilizations. Now, the pictures, and you look at this, and look at what appear to be hieroglyphs. Well, they are hieroglyphs. I'm not saying they're Egyptian, but they look and feel strange. You need to go and look at this. This is not, when it says 1,500 years old, this right here, there's something going on. And this is right off the Caspian Sea. Look at these pictures. Look at these images. I've just retweeted this. I got to say this, Fader family. What do you make of that? That's pretty dang amazing. And the full story and links and everything are over at jimmychurchradio.com now, or on our Facebook page. Archaeologists also, other breaking news, this made it all over the web 2 days ago. I just didn't get a chance to announce it. They found this well-preserved mummy, 3,200 years old, inside a brightly painted sarcophagus, which looks like, when you look at the pictures of this, it looks like that this thing was made yesterday. Makes me so happy to see something this well-preserved and discovered, found, untampered with, and unviolated. Okay? No tomb raiders found this. Now, the wooden sarcophagus, which was carved in the typical distinctive Egyptian figure, but it had black hair and heavy eyeliner. You've got to see it. Thank you for this, Bob. Thank you. I'm retweeting this now. I'm looking at this. Look at that sarcophagus. Is that amazing? It looks like it's perfect. Now, it was found buried, of all places, 4th millennium Tutmos III temple near Luxor, right off the Nile River's west bank. That, my friends, makes me happy. I've got a bunch more pictures of this. There's a couple of close-ups of the, let's see here. Has anybody tweeted that out yet? There's a couple of close-ups of the face that have made it out there. And you take a look at this, and it's absolutely stunning. It's amazing. Now, check this out. For those of you who are fans of Krispy Kreme donuts, yeah, I am. I'll admit it, but I go for the standard issue. I just go for the straight Krispy Kreme glazed, right? I don't venture off of that path. I stay on the straight and narrow Krispy Kreme glazed, right? Okay. Well, if you're a fan of their maple and berry-filled donuts, you might be disappointed to know that they were not eating authentic ingredients, because an upset customer is suing the donut chain right now because the filling that they use in those treats use imitation ingredients. The suit was filed right here in Los Angeles last Wednesday after a customer ordered several maple ice glazed and glazed raspberry filled and glazed blueberry cake and chocolate ice raspberry filled donuts. Well, the plaintiff, Jason Sedian, accused the North Carolina-based company of filling the donuts with blueberry gum bits. The suit claims that the company used artificial coloring, corn syrup, and sugar in the donuts rather than real fruit. The suit says, and I'm quoting here, unbeknownst to plaintiff and other customers, the raspberry products do not contain actual raspberries. The maple products do not contain actual maple syrup or maple sugar, and the blueberry products do not contain actual blueberries. I'm stunned. I'm shocked. The good news is the strawberry stuff, real strawberries. And that's all I got. That's all I got there. 3 Dutch World War II ships considered war graves have vanished from the bottom of the Java Sea. Now, I'm not making this up. This is a real story. Now, this is according to the Dutch Defense Ministry. All 3 were sunk by Japanese during the Battle of Java Sea in 1942, and their wrecks were discovered by divers in 2002. The British government says it is now distressed by the reports and is investigating. A new expedition to mark next year's 75th anniversary of the battle found the wrecks missing. These are battleships, folks. 3D images now show large holes in the seabed where the HMS Exeter, the HMS Encounter, and the destroyer HMS Electra, as well as a U.S. submarine, used to be. I'm not making this up. Experts say salvaging the wrecks would have been a huge operation. Somebody would have known. Somebody would have seen it. Right now, the Dutch Defense Ministry is investigating the mysterious disappearance. 3 battleships and a submarine literally have disappeared into thin water. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I got to thank Ronny Le Blanc for an amazing conversation tonight. You can go to Amazon. You can go to his website and get his new book, Monsterland. The show executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, Fader Night, John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. Everybody be safe. Go Backley Tappy.